This is a production of WTVI PBS Charlotte.
Just ahead on Carolina Impact, outgoing Mayor Dan Clodfelter shares his thoughts about the job, the issues, and the city's future. Plus, we explore what the Carolina Thread Trail offers people throughout our region, and a school field trip where students learn about life in the once segregated South. Please don't go anywhere. Carolina Impact starts right now.
WTVI PBS Charlotte presents Carolina Impact, covering the issues, people, and places that impact you. This is Carolina Impact. Funding for Carolina Impact is provided by the members of WTVI PBS Charlotte and by
the Philip L. Van Avery Foundation is pleased to support our region's arts organizations and artists with profiles and feature stories on Carolina Impact.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. Over the years, being mayor of Charlotte has been the launch pad to higher office in Raleigh and Washington, D.C., or more recently, the last stop on the way to prison. But for Mayor Dan Clodfelter, it was more of a political rescue mission, restoring respect to an office stained by corruption. Carolina Impact's Jeff Sonnier recently sat down with Charlotte's outgoing mayor for him to share his thoughts on the job, the issues, and the city's future.
Well, thank you, Amy, and especially thank you, Mayor Dan Clodfelter, for joining us here today.
Glad to be with you.
You're leaving office after about 2 years, not just leading the city, but also in a large measure healing the city.
Today, I have acknowledged being guilty of accepting monies for constituent services.
I mean, when you came on board, we had an ex-mayor who had just resigned after charges of corruption.
I first want to simply apologize to this community.
We had a city hall that in many ways was oblivious to what was going on in the mayor's office until the day the FBI arrived.
His arrest came as a complete surprise to the city council and the city manager.
It wasn't something I planned. It really wasn't something I was looking for. But I sort of thought about it and said, you know, maybe there's a voice upstairs that's trying to tell you something, so you need to listen. I do feel a good sense about the job I was asked to do. I think I discharged it well and faithfully and truly, and I feel good about that. The rediscovery of Charlotte for me has been just a delight. What this city has become in the 15 years while I was off in state government is just wonderful. We've reached a takeoff point, and that's really exciting to watch. It puts us in the big leagues. We were still, as you say, in adolescence then. I think we're now a player on the world stage.
As a city council member and as a planning commissioner,
yeah.
You had a chance in many ways to lay the groundwork for what has happened and what is happening today. Do you think we did a good job back then?
I think we did as good a job as we could be expected to do, given the uncertainties of what we didn't know. You think about that, and then you get on the goal line and ride it, or you ride the Lynx blue line, and you think, we did it. We actually made it happen. So that kind of success, that feeling of success on a very, very long-term kind of investment gives me hope that we can do it.
You talked about transit and you talked about development, and the trolley is one of those issues.
Streetcar.
Or the streetcar, excuse
Right.
me, is one of those issues that kind of straddles both.
Yeah, it does. We've always done that, Jeff. We've always used transportation dollars to lead growth. The construction of I-45 was the location and the routing of I-45 was very largely based upon growth policies. The difference between the streetcar and the bus system is it's going to be there. There's going to be public transportation at this location for a long, long time, 50 years or more. You can reliably invest here. That's what a streetcar gives you that a bus doesn't.
The Carrick trial and the overall issue of police and minorities.
This is the dash cam video. You can see as the victim, Jonathan Farrell, comes into the dash cam. I'm going to stop.
I thought I was going to die. Why? Because nothing I would do would stop him.
No one really got a feeling of resolution out of that non-verdict. I don't think anyone felt that resolved matters. And you know, in an odd way, Jeff, that may be for the long term, that may be a helpful thing. I don't want to say it's a good thing, but it may be a helpful thing because it keeps the issue alive. It means we know we've still got to talk about it. We know we've still got to work on it. I think it would be a mistake for us to simply say, oh, we're fine. See, we didn't have any riots, so we must be okay. Well, we're not okay. We did a good job of keeping the temperature down, but the tensions are still there.
The airport is something that doesn't seem to have a clear endpoint in sight in terms of who's going to control it in the future. I know that the city wants to maintain control.
Well, I think it's going to stay under city management and an integral part of city operations. I think that's the future.
One of the reasons that the legislature, and particularly Republicans in the legislature, got involved was apparently because there was a concern on the part of business in Charlotte, some business leaders in Charlotte, that maybe the airport would become more political.
I don't think it's ever been subject to the whims of the politicians. The one thing I will say, from city council to city council to city council, consistently over my time in Charlotte, that airport has been managed with the highest degree of stewardship as an important public asset. It's never been a political plaything. I've not seen that. I will say one disappointment I've had about my time in mayor. I hope we would get closure on this issue.
That sense of unfinished business often leads to
Mayor of the city.
the next step in a political career.
As mayor of the city of Charlotte, North Carolina,
To the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
What's your next step?
I have no idea. I really don't. I didn't know this was in my future, so I'm not sure I know what's next in my future. I didn't even know that I would be doing this job, and so we'll sort of see what tickles my fancy next.
But there is a political future. I guess that's my point.
I don't know. I don't know, Jeff. I'm not, as I say, I don't have a master plan or a checklist. I look for an opportunity to be of service, and when I see one where I think I can put my talents and skills to work and be effective and be productive, I will probably take advantage of it.
Thank you, Mayor Dan Clodfelter, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
When you decide what's in your political future, we hope you'll come back and visit us again here at WTVI. Amy?
Thanks so much, Jeff. Before Dan Clodfelter's appointment, he spent 15 years in Raleigh as a state senator. He was also elected to 3 terms in the Charlotte City Council in the late 80s and early 90s, and served as chairman of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Planning Commission. Clodfelter was defeated in the fall Democratic mayoral primary by now Mayor-elect Jennifer Roberts. Well, I don't know about you, but I like hiking, as long as there's a well-defined trail and no snakes. I'm not one for blazing my own path in the woods. We have a regional trail network here in Charlotte that will eventually touch 2.3 million people. 10 years ago, the Foundation for the Carolinas convened a group who agreed that preserving open spaces should be a top priority. They launched the Carolina Thread Trail in 2007. As Carolina Impact's Jeff Rivenbark explains, the trail not only provides places for outdoor recreation, but also promotes economic development.
The good thing about this property is that it's very ecologically rich.
From poison ivy to invasive plants, Andy King can talk for hours about nature. But on this day,
are we ready? Yeah! All right, that's what I like to hear. Okay.
He's on a mission. Armed with bug spray, pruning shears, and water bottles, these Davidson College students aren't here for a guided nature walk. They're here to work.
The creek is right over here, so we're going to be working on this side. For people when they're walking along, they'll be able to see the creek.
Andy's referring to the South Fork Rail Trail, which runs along the South Fork of the Catawba River in Lincoln County. This new section is part of a bigger regional trail network called the Carolina Thread Trail, which connects 11 North and 4 South Carolina counties. It takes a number of volunteer groups like this to maintain the system of trails. When Lincolnton attorney Jonathan Ryan walks this trail and gazes out over the South Fork Catawba River, he has a deep appreciation for this land and its history.
I grew up here, and my children were the 5th generation to live on the property. We've had it since the 19th century.
Jonathan gave a conservation easement to establish this trail. That's basically a binding agreement between a landowner and a qualified conservation organization, like a land trust, such as the Catawba Lands Conservancy. The easement allows Jonathan to maintain ownership of the land, but it limits future development.
Our family thought that much as we enjoyed the property, we want to see that other generations enjoyed it.
Across the river, you'll find the old laboratory cotton mill built in 1888 by Jonathan's ancestor, Dan Ryan. The old mill ran continuously until the late 1990s.
The mill building is on the former site of a Confederate laboratory, so the history goes back a couple of hundred years. And knowing that the train used to go through here, stretches of the trail are narrow places in between rocks where the train used to go.
Jonathan says it's important to preserve areas like this with strong ties to history.
40 years from now, or whenever the trail is completed, this will be a part of the trail from Catawba County all the way down to South Carolina. It's truly something that not only my children, but our grandchildren will be able to enjoy.
In addition to greenways, the Carolina Thread Trail includes blueways, or water trails. This spot near the I-85 bridge in Cramerton is a favorite with kayakers. Kayaking instructor Lenny Stallings leads eco-tours on blueways throughout the region.
The rivers that we use, the South Fork, the Catawba, the Yadkin, the Uwharrie, and the Rocky River, the Carolina Thread Trail has a footprint on every single one of those rivers, and because of their work, and there's just a lot of great natural resources for people to get out on.
The Thread Trail not only offers lots of recreational opportunities, it also drums up much-needed business for smaller communities. Greg Ramsey owns Floyd and Blackie's Coffee House in downtown Cramerton.
When they started building the Carolina Thread Trail in Goat Island Park over there, I remarked to my wife, I said, somebody needs to buy some kayaks and start renting them to get people back in the river.
He opened a side business called the Floating Goat, and he rents canoes and kayaks. Greg grew up in this former mill town. He remembers how the river and the island brought people together.
My grandfather, who came here in the 1920s, said back in the 30s and 40s that everybody used to gather along this river in the evenings. This was the old ballpark that came down to the river, and this was a gathering place. And now with the trails back and the kayaking and the river coming back to life, we're back to that same type of lifestyle here in town.
Not to mention visitors making day trips to explore a trail or kayak around Goat Island.
It's good for the town, it's good for business, it's good all the way around.
The Carolina Thread Trail is like a green interstate system, linking corridors of trails and conservation lands.
We're at a point now where everyone in our region is close to some thread trail segment.
Tom Okel is the executive director of the Catawba Lands Conservancy. He says even the Carolina Thread Trail's name harkens back to the region's textile past.
It also reflects the fact that this trail is going to be a thread that ties our region together and all the 2 million people and the many communities that are going to be part of the trail.
Right now, 88 municipal governments have passed resolutions to be part of the project.
The heritage of this area is something that's important, and it's been great that families like the Ryans and many other have bought into what the Thread Trail can mean for our area.
Another generation or two of development everywhere will mean there aren't places like this. Kids need somewhere to go and run and scamper and see things other than on an iPad or a computer, and that's been our motivation.
Thanks to landowners like Jonathan and countless volunteers who maintain these trails and blueways, all of us can enjoy this regional legacy today, as well as future generations to come. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jeff Rivenbark reporting.
Thanks so much, Jeff. To learn more about the Carolina Thread Trail, we have a link posted at pbscharlotte.org. Well, joining me now is Susan Patterson, who is the Charlotte Program Director for the Knight Foundation. Susan, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it so much.
Thanks. Love being here. Appreciate it.
You know what? You were one of the catalysts to help get the Carolina Thread Trail started. Help us understand why this was an important initiative for the Knight Foundation.
Well, thanks, Amy. So when I joined Knight in 2001, we had a particular focus on preserving open space in the region, and the importance of greenways and trails and even saving farmland, which when you look around Charlotte today, you kind of go, was there farmland? But there used to be quite a bit. And so the whole notion of a greenway was, we had some in Charlotte, but creating more was really important. And so the first thing we invested in was an economic study of the value of greenways and open space in the region.
And it's one of the exciting things that people love so much about Charlotte, because there is a good amount of green space that people can go out in the walking trails and enjoy and hike. And this has become a popular thing as well.
Yes, and I think even the vision for the Carolina Thread Trail, when you think back about it, is really incredible. So I think only about 240 miles or so of the planned or expected 1,500 miles is actually on the ground. But if you can imagine a green interstate in our region, I mean, it's really a powerful vision. And so we actually got involved before it was even called the Carolina Thread Trail, and our early dollars actually helped come up with that brand and the image and the logo, and I think it just so speaks to our region. I love it.
Well, the Knight Foundation has been a community leader in so many things, including the arts and so many great things that over your time as the program director here in Charlotte, you've been involved, but your days are starting to be numbered as the program director. A lot of great years ahead of fun for you. But talk to us a little bit about how you've seen the role of that organization in our community.
Well, I think the foundation has been investing in Charlotte since the late 60s. So we do have deep roots in the 26 communities where we are partners in the community, and that was true in Charlotte. But for a long time, we kind of kept our light hidden under the basket, as they say, and I think a lot of folks didn't realize how much work we were actually doing in the community. And over the last several years, I would say we've taken the approach that not to toot our own horn, but to say we want folks to know the work we're doing so that others might engage and join with us in the work. So you're right, it has been in the arts, everything from early investments in Spirit Square and North Carolina Dance Theater, now called Charlotte Ballet, to Knight Theater, which I particularly like, to the environment, to early childhood. When I first started with Knight, that was another one of our areas of investment. I've never had children, so it was something I really had to learn a lot about, and that's been one of the joys of the job, is I get to learn a lot about a lot of things, including all the fabulous people in our community.
And as a recovering journalist, as you like to say,
exactly.
That inquisitive nature of finding out not only what's happening, but I love seeing the Knight Foundation making a difference to help things happen.
Well, I think we hope that we're a catalyst for transformational change in our communities. Our tagline is supporting informed and engaged communities. So you can kind of get the informed part from our history of our journalism roots from the founders, Jack and Jim Knight. But, you know, it's what people do with that information is where you get the engagement. And we love doing that work as well.
So as you retire, what's the first thing you're looking forward to, or maybe the most important thing you'll miss?
Well, I think that I'm going to give up the alarm clock. That's one thing.
Congratulations.
I think that'll be good. I think I will miss the regular engagement with such great people, so I'm probably going to hang out at coffee shops. You can look for me there.
Oh, well, we look forward to it. Thank you so much for all the great work that you've done here in the Charlotte region over these so many years. We appreciate what the Knight Foundation has done and what you've done personally, Susan.
Thanks so much, Amy. Appreciate it.
Well, you know, I love to read, and recently I came across this John Maxwell quote: "Only people who can see the invisible can do the impossible." In 1912, Booker T. Washington had a dream of building schools for African American children across the segregated South. He shared his idea with philanthropist Julius Rosenwald. Eventually, more than 5,300 schools, vocational shops, and teachers' homes were built in 15 states. As Carolina Impact's Jeff Rivenbark shows us, one of those schools in our area continues to educate students today.
At this York County crossroad, where Mobley Store and Williamson Road meet, you'll find the Carroll School surrounded by acres of fluffy white cotton waiting to be harvested. Off in the distance, a yellow school bus approaches, loaded with Kayla Mullis's 5th grade class. It's a field trip back in time for these students from India Hook Elementary School. In this 4-room schoolhouse, they'll spend the day experiencing life during the Great Depression, and it's Carroll School teacher Leanne Gardner's job to get them thinking.
We try to teach them about that time period, the hardships people faced, how they were able to work through. And we just basically take them through a day and try to let them live a little bit what it would be like if they were actually living during that time.
But Gardner's not alone. Helping her start the morning, 78-year-old Wally Cathcart.
Good morning. As she said, my name is Mr. Cathcart, and I was a student at Carroll School for 7 years.
He remembers having to walk a mile each day to school.
It was cold in the wintertime, you know, these frosty mornings like the frost you see on the ground out there. When we got to the school, we would be frozen.
Quickly, he gives the students something they can relate to.
You are sitting in what was my 2nd and 3rd grade classroom. But when I was in the 5th grade, like you, the room behind you was my classroom.
And they hear firsthand what it was like to attend the school, including
your bathroom had flushing toilets and running water. Not so with our bathroom. They were outhouses.
Built in 1929, the Carroll School served only African American students. Most people living in the Short County community were sharecrop farmers.
This was predominantly black at the time.
This simple wood structure is known as a Rosenwald School. Built mostly in the South, the nearly 5,000 schools provided African American children with an education, an opportunity many might not have had before the end of segregation. The name Rosenwald comes from Julius Rosenwald, a wealthy Chicago businessman and former president of Sears, Roebuck & Company. In 1917, he established a fund to help build the schools. The community, however, had to come up with the rest.
They'd have fish fries, chicken dinners, and to raise the money to put up for the school.
Gardner says out of all the remaining Rosenwald schools, the Carroll School is the only one that's used as part of a curriculum. Every 5th grade class in the Rock Hill School District spends a day at the school. In another classroom, large windows provide natural light as Cathcart teams up with James Hart. The two men teach the kids about canning food and share stories about farm life.
I tried to make a cow a couple times in my life. Let me show you how much I got. I got that much.
Across the hall,
You're going to pick a corner as you sew. Watch me.
Gardner shows them how to sew.
One of the things I talked to them about in the sewing class is that you didn't go to the mall and you didn't go shopping for the day and buy a closet full of clothes. Children today don't know what it's like to live without. And one of the things we talk about is how no one during the Great Depression threw things away. And that's unheard of for kids today. They don't like a toy, they toss it. They don't like that outfit, they toss it. They don't like that food, they toss it.
Plant this corn in cow manure.
Drop your corn in.
Outside, Hart uses songs he wrote to teach about gardening and picking cotton. After planting corn, each student gets a large burlap sack and heads out to the cotton field.
You're going to pick right here.
Where each student picks cotton.
I like it when you bend your back. Ha. I like it when you feel your side. Ha. I like it when you don't talk back. Make money for me. Make money for me.
I got very little cotton.
While the students' faces change, this old country school remains to promote understanding about our past. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jeff Rivenbark reporting.
Thanks so much, Jeff. It's always good to learn from our past. By the way, we're working on a Trail of History program about the Rosenwald schools in our region, and that program will air in the spring right here on your PBS station, WTVI PBS Charlotte. Well, food trucks are gaining speed in the Queen City. The mobile kitchens offer customers convenience and often quirky cuisine. Charlotte's first food truck hit the streets about 4 years ago. Now, nearly 100 trucks serve customers throughout the Queen City. Carolina Impact's Danielle Koser takes us behind the wheel of the Tin Kitchen and Ooey Barbecue to see what it takes to run a food truck.
Trucking, got my chips cashed in, keep trucking, like the Doodah Man together.
This sizzle marks the start of lunchtime in Uptown. 9-to-5ers make their way from the cubicle to the curb, lining up at the Tin Kitchen food truck to place their order.
Two of your belly sliders.
I'm actually about 6 blocks away, so to come here it's not too far of a walk.
Just keep trucking
The Tin Kitchen made its mark as one of the first food trucks to hit the street in Charlotte, opening in January 2011.
You guys doing all right in there?
Co-owner David Stuck says he spent most of his career working in corporate kitchens across the country before branching out on his own.
Ultimately, I really just wanted to do it my way, right or wrong, I guess.
Good, what can I get you?
So he took a risk and opened the Tin Kitchen, investing about $100,000 in the startup. Today there's a steady line of customers, but Stuck says business got off to a slow start.
But nobody really understood what we were doing. And we would sit out in the cold and freeze our butts off and serve 10 people.
Slowly but surely, his investment and patience paid off.
10 Kitchen's always a hit. It's always dead on, and that's really impressed me.
Every Thursday, you can find the Tin Kitchen right here at the corner of 9th and North Tryon. This is a sweet spot. Each lunch rush draws in about 120 customers.
Been at this spot for a long time. A lot of these people are regulars. They eat every week when we're here.
Can I do the chicken quesadilla?
On the menu, everything from Thai coconut shrimp tacos to Korean barbecue sliders. Stuck describes the flavor as international fusion, served up in familiar forms.
Tacos, sliders, and quesadillas.
We're tracking down a food truck.
The truck's unique cuisine caught the attention of Guy Fieri, who featured the Tin Kitchen on diners, drive-ins, and dives last spring.
I'm getting a lot of that great rich flavor coming through from the coconut milk.
Since it opened, the company has expanded to include 2 food trucks, a cafe, and more than 20 employees, growing to keep up with the demand.
It's very rewarding to see that your work is appreciated.
From Uptown to South Park, George Leach serves up a Southern favorite, barbecue with all the fixins.
Macaroni's my favorite, but it's all excellent.
With a name like Ooh Wee Barbecue, this truck stands out almost as much as its owner. At 7 feet tall, Leach has just enough room to stand up in the truck. He used his height to his advantage at his old job, playing professional basketball overseas.
Basketball was easy. This right here is a whole other ball game.
Leach's career on the court ended when an injury forced him into retirement. He moved back to the States and bought a smoker, perfecting his barbecue recipe and opening the food truck about 2.5 years ago.
So a hobby turned into a career.
Business picked up quickly. Before long, Leach added a second truck and 5 employees to keep up with customers' cravings.
This one was paid back 5 weeks. 5 weeks. That's crazy, right?
His most popular menu item, the Barbecue Sundae, a 16-ounce cup layered with baked beans, mac and cheese, and meat.
Beer in one hand, Sunday in the other, so it works.
Oh, I love the Ooh Wee Barbecue, especially the Barbecue Sundae. It's probably my favorite.
Customers say they love the convenience these mobile kitchens offer.
Having doorstep service.
The idea that food would come to you is just great.
Whether it's low and slow in the smoker or a quick saute in the skillet, food trucks have grown from a trend to a staple on Charlotte street corners, attracting customers with an appetite for fast, fresh meals.
Trucking, got my chips cashed in, keep trucking.
For Carolina Impact, I'm Danielle Koser reporting.
Thanks so much, Danielle. Hungry for more? Food Truck Friday starts up again this spring. About a dozen trucks gather for the event, offering foodies the chance to try a little bit of everything. According to the organization's website, the popular event is taking on a new location. For more details, look for this story on the Carolina Impact page at pbscharlotte.org. Well, if you've got a story idea that you'd like to see featured on an upcoming segment here of Carolina Impact, we'd love to hear from you. Please send your suggestions to carolinaImpact@WTVI.org. Well, that does it for this week. From all of us at WTVI PBS Charlotte, thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you back here again next time on Carolina Impact. Good night, my friends.
Funding for Carolina Impact is provided by the members of WTVI PBS Charlotte and by
the Philip L. Van Avery Foundation is pleased to support our region's arts organizations and artists with profiles and feature stories on Carolina Impact.
A production of WTVI PBS Charlotte.